Hi guys, and welcome to a very windy episode 2 of Gavin and James Sailing. It's absolutely crazy out there today. We've got gusts up to 40 miles an hour. We've actually moved the boat into a more sheltered part of the marina as it's going to get worse as the day goes on. But guess what though? It's not Whitby, it's Hartlepool on the northeast coast. We made it out of Whitby and we were only supposed to be there for 4 days, but it ended up being 5 weeks. We did try and leave once, but we had to go back, but we'll explain all about it in this week's video.
So we did actually leave Whitby after a week of being there and started our journey up to Hartlepool. Within 10 minutes of leaving though, the engine alarmed out to say it was overheating, so we made the decision to turn back. Now the weather wasn't a particularly great day to be going to Hartlepool anyway. There wasn't much wind, so we were planning on having to use the engine quite a lot. So we felt it was the safest thing to turn back, go back to Whitby, where we kind of knew we could get some help, and we knew we'd have people there that would be able to help us get this engine fixed once and for all. So that's what we did. It took us a long time to get to the bottom of it, but James is now going to talk to you about exactly what we went through and what we actually did with the engine to get it sorted.
Okay, so I'm going to go a bit boat geek here, and I'm going to talk to you about exactly what was wrong with the engine. So we've got a Volvo Penta 2002 engine. 2002, it means it's the 2000 series and it's a 2-cylinder. The actual year of manufacture is 1989, so it's a fairly old engine. And what the problem was is it cools itself by sucking in seawater, swilling it around the engine, and then it goes out with the exhaust. It was a water cooling problem that was causing the overheating. So if I show you down here, we have a seacock which is right at the back, which you can't really see, but the water comes in from the propeller. There's some holes in the propeller and it gets sucked in and it goes around here. Then in here there's a little rubber impeller which goes around and a water pump there. That pumps the water all the way up here into the head of the engine. Then in the head of the engine there's a copper pipe that runs from there right to the other side of the engine, and in the copper pipe there's 4 holes, and then that distributes the water into the engine, into the head, and then it then goes to the exhaust elbow, which is right at the back there, and then goes out of the exhaust. When the engine reaches a certain temperature, which is around 70 to 75 degrees C, the thermostat, which is here, opens, and then that takes away the hot water that's in the head and it takes it straight to the exhaust elbow and out. And by doing that, that makes way for colder water to enter into the head. So that hot water is getting replaced by the colder water coming up here, and that's how it keeps the engine cool. So in a nutshell, that's it. I hope I've explained that all right. So the problems that we had 3 problems with the overheating, and the first one was quite a major problem really. It's the one that you don't want it to be, but the problem was in the head. So all the hot water holes in the head were blocked. And the copper pipe that runs through here that serves the head with the water, it's got 4 holes in it, they were completely blocked up, so actually no cooling water was getting into the head, and that's why we was getting temperatures of 100 degrees on the head and at the back of the head, and that's really bad because if you leave it and you don't stop your engine, you will end up completely damaging your engine. It will blow the head gasket, and it will warp the head. So every time the alarm went off, we'd turn the engine off straight away, just let it cool down before we restarted it. So that was the first problem. I'll put a little screenshot up on about what the head looks like and what the problems were in there. But we had to have the engine stripped down, the head removed, taken away and be refurbished. So that was like, it was cleaned in like a solution. The copper pipe disintegrated, so we had to have a new copper pipe, which took a while to come. We also noticed while we had the head out, the injectors, the fuel injectors, were quite gunky, so that wasn't causing any of the problem, but while the head was stripped down, that was a good time to have them sent away to be refurbed as well. So to get the head out, a lot of the engine has to come off, so like the alternator, the belts, quite a lot of the filters, the fuel pipes. There's quite a lot of work involved in that. So that was the first problem, and that was the main problem. The second problem, we've actually got a calorifier. So a calorifier, it's basically a hot water tank which is in the cockpit locker, and when the thermostat opens, the hot water actually goes round. You can see a pipe here. It was actually going round the calorifier, which would heat up the hot water for the boat, and then it would come back to the engine and out of the elbow. So that's just an added complexity to the engine, and with it being quite an old engine, we think we might be asking a little bit too much for that, for the water pump to actually pump the water uphill and round and back, and we think that had an impact on how the engine was cooling as well. So we're not bothered about our engine heating our hot water. We have an electric immersion switch in the back bedroom, and when we're in marinas we can just flick that when we're connected to shore power. So we decided to disconnect the calorifier hoses, so they did go from here into the bathroom, into the cockpit locker, round and back. So now we've just got one hose that just joins the thermostat to the exhaust elbow, and we found that really helped with the flow of the cooling water as well. And the third thing that we had a problem was the actual temperature alarm sensor, which is actually just here. So it's supposed to alarm out at 95 degrees, plus or minus 3 degrees, but we tested it and it was actually alarming out at about 85 degrees. So it was alarming out too low. That's not the cause of what the problem was. The problem was the head being blocked, but also that did have an impact. It was an alarming out a little bit before it should have been. So again, we've had that replaced. It's only a little switch about like that. Again, that took quite a while to come, and we fitted that in, and it seems to be absolutely fine now. We've done lots of testing on the engine. So we did a lot of dockside testing, where we would put the engine under load with the propeller spinning, and we would measure the temperature all around the engine with an infrared heat gun, and nothing was getting into the 80s. It was all in the 70s and it was all fine. So we did all that before we actually went out to sea, and then when we went out to sea we did use the engine for about an hour, and it was really good. It's run the best it's ever run. A couple of other little bits that we've done while we had to head out. We've got here, this is the anode. So this, I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but this is what the electrical energy that the engine makes. The electricity attacks metal and makes it rust. So with the anode in, it's the anode that takes the impact of that. So the anode will rust, and you're supposed to replace them every year, rather than the engine rusting. So if you didn't replace it, then the engine could start corroding inside. Ours was stuck. It was completely stuck in. We couldn't remove it. We tried last year. So while the head was out, it was drilled out, and then we finally managed to get that replaced as well. And just a couple of other bits I'll show you, but we're just going to have to go to the other side of the engine. So a couple of other bits that we did as well. So this is the back of the engine. This is the exhaust elbow that I was talking about. We actually had that replaced as well, because that was quite gunked up inside. I think you're supposed to replace them maybe every 3 or 5 years. We've gone for a stainless steel one. It's Volvo Penta. It was quite an expensive part, but hopefully we won't have to replace that for a while. A couple of other things that we did, which is completely unrelated to the overheating problem. This is our sail drive. So this actually goes through the hull of the boat, and that's where the propeller is. We've changed the oil in the sail drive. Now, you would normally do that when you were out of the water, because there's a little screw underneath where you can drain the oil from. But we couldn't get out of the water, so we just pumped the old oil out from here, and put the new oil in. The other things that we've done is I think you can see this here. This is the first diesel water filter. So when the diesel comes from the diesel tank, it comes down this pipe here into here, and then it's at this point that if there's any water in the diesel, it will drop down to the bottom and it collects in here, and then the diesel then is pumped from there right through to the fuel pipes into the engine. We've changed that. The filter was quite gunked up, and having water going around in the diesel doesn't do your engine any good, so we've changed that. So we've had quite a lot of work done in Whitby. We just decided that it was just best just to get it all sorted and get it all done before we went on our way, and I feel really pleased now that we've done that. So I just want to thank Carrie, who is from Sea Monkey Marine. Carrie's helps us with our engine quite a lot. He's done loads of work for us. He's amazing. He does everything to do with boats, so it's electrical, plumbing, engines, you name it, he can do it. And Carrie's really helps us like get this problem sorted. And what's really good about Carrie is he explains things as he goes as well. So we're wanting to learn about our engine so that we can do more to it ourselves. And Carrie's let us sort of get involved and help him, and he explained how he's doing things and why. So yeah, Carrie's been absolutely amazing. So if anyone's on the Yorkshire coast and you need some help with your boats, just drop us a comment, and I will give you his phone number. Also just want to thank the staff at Whitby Marina. They've been absolutely amazing and so welcoming for us. Obviously it was a bit of a stressful time for us at some points, and we did wonder whether we were actually going to get out of there or get going again. And the guys in the marina office were so helpful, and there was no pressure about us having to leave or anything, and they made sure that we had a good spot, and they kept checking up on us. The ladies in the office were fantastic, taking all our parcels in and engine bits and bobs, and the harbour master as well, so supportive, and he's really helped us out as well. So I just want to say thank you to all them people.
As we were in Whitby longer than expected, we did manage to have quite a few days out. We're just getting used to doing a bit of recording outside, so the footage isn't great, but here's what we got up to.
I know, they've got some air-conditioned buildings, some air-conditioned cars.
No, I don't think so. We've got scones with clotted cream and jam and tea. So we've actually become stuck in Whitby. The weather's not been great over the last few days. We've had 3 days of thunder and lightning, and now that's passing over, but we've got winds coming in from the sea. So we've got a swell building, so we've got 2 meters today, building to 3, so we've decided we're going to stay a little bit longer. There is worse places to be stuck. It's beautiful here. We're just going up to Whitby Abbey. But first we've got to tackle the 199 steps, so I'm glad that we've just had a tea stop. So I'm halfway up the steps, but I just wanted to point out this house behind me. It's got the most amazing views. I'll just turn the camera around for you. That's the entrance to Whitby Harbour.
We've only got little legs.
Okay, so we've done it. I'm a bit exhausted, but we've got to the top. As you can see down there's the River Esk. That's where Takazar is at the moment. And I'll spin round and show you the view. So the abbey was built in between the 13th and the 15th century, and it was used for burials, rituals and celebrations. This, where I'm standing now, would have been the Grand Hall. Whitby Abbey is famous for featuring in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. Stoker moved to Whitby in 1890 and fell in love with the place and published Dracula in 1897. Dracula was travelling from Russia to London on a ship that was shipwrecked just under the abbey. What's this little door here? Right, let's go up to the top of the tower. Oh, you can see the old steps up there.
Morning everyone. So today's the day we're finally leaving Whitby. James has been testing the engine for the last maybe 2 or 3 days. I feel a bit nervous, to be honest, because we've put so much time and effort into getting this engine sorted and I just want it to go well. But yeah, it's all looking good. Conditions seem perfect out there, so we're gonna go. Thanks everyone for watching this week's video. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. It really does help us out.
And thank you so much to everyone who's already subscribed to our channel. After our first video a few weeks ago, we've got loads of new subscribers, so thank you very much.
If anyone wants to support us on our journey, we do now have a coffee page, so head over to that if you'd like to give us a bit more support. The link is in the description.
So join us next time where we'll talk to you about our passage from Whitby to Hartlepool. You'll notice that we haven't actually put a lot of footage up of the journey. There is a reason for that. I had like massive spatial awareness issues on that passage. And
just went slightly off course.
and we ended up in some really, really bad weather. But we'll talk to you about that in our next episode. So until then, take care and see you then.
Bye.